Italy is often seen as the land of brown eyes and olive skin. But if you've ever walked through the streets of Rome, Naples, or Palermo, you might have noticed something else. Hazel eyes are everywhere. Green gold, amber, olive. They shimmer with layers of colour that don't fit into a single box. So how did hazel eyes become so common in Italian populations? What does this tell us about Italy's genetic past, its history of migration, and its place at the crossroads of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East? Before we start, I'm on a road to get 10,000 subscribers as a small channel. If you want to help me, please subscribe. In this video, we're going to uncover how thousands of years of conquests, trade, and cultural blending helped shape one of the most beautiful and mysterious eye colors in the world. Let me know in the comments if you or someone in your family has hazel eyes and Italian heritage. I'd love to hear your story. Hazel eyes are a genetic blend of light and dark pigmentation, often appearing as a swirling mix of green, brown, amber, and gold. They change with the light, sometimes looking more green, other times more golden or even grey. This dynamic quality sets hazel eyes apart from blue or brown, which tend to appear more uniform. Scientifically, hazel eyes result from moderate levels of melanin in the front layer of the iris. That means there's more pigment than in green or blue eyes, but less than in solid brown. The way light scatters across the iris, called Rayleigh scattering, adds to the variation, creating a color that appears to shift depending on environment and lighting. Unlike eye colors influenced by one or two dominant genes, hazel is a polygenic trait, meaning it's shaped by a complex combination of genetic variants. Genes like OCA2 and HERC2, which regulate melanin production, are key players, but other genes influence the subtle differences in how that pigment is distributed and how light interacts with the eye. Hazel eyes tend to show up most frequently in people with mixed ancestry, where both lighter and darker pigmentation genes are present, and that's exactly why hazel eyes are so common in Italy. The country's deeply layered DNA creates the perfect conditions for them to thrive. To understand why hazel eyes are so common in Italy today, we have to go back thousands of years, to the time before Rome, before Latin, before even the first cities. The earliest populations of the Italian peninsula were Neolithic farmers who migrated from the Anatolian region around 8,000 years ago. They brought with them agriculture and DNA that favored darker features, including brown eyes and olive-toned skin. But these weren't the only ancestors of modern Italians. Around 5,000 years ago, the Yamnaya, pastoralist tribes from the Pontic-Caspian steppe, migrated into Europe. They carried lighter pigmentation alleles, including those for green, blue, and even hazel eyes. These steppe peoples mixed with Neolithic farmers and local hunter-gatherers, creating an ancestral blend that's still visible in today's Italian gene pool. Italy was also a bridge, genetically and geographically, between northern and southern Europe. Throughout the Bronze and Iron Ages, the peninsula saw continuous movement. Etruscans, Villanovans, Italic tribes, and more. With each wave of newcomers, more genetic variation entered the mix, increasing the chance for intermediate traits like hazel eyes to develop. So, even before the Roman Empire, Italy had become a melting pot of ancestry, Mediterranean, steppe, and local European. Hazel eyes emerged as a visual byproduct of these complex interactions, passed down quietly through generations. And as you'll see in the next section, the arrival of the Romans would open the genetic floodgates even wider. With the rise of the Roman Empire, Italy became the beating heart of a civilization that spanned 3 continents. From Britain to Syria, Egypt to Spain, the empire connected people, goods, and genes on a scale the world had never seen. And nowhere was this blending more intense than in Rome itself. As soldiers, traders, slaves, and citizens moved through the empire, so did their DNA. People from North Africa, the Middle East, the Balkans, and Northern Europe settled in Roman towns across the peninsula. Many intermarried with locals or had children with Roman citizens. This created an unprecedented genetic mixing ground, especially in cities like Rome, Naples, and Ravenna. The result? An explosion of pigmentation diversity. Genetic variants for lighter eyes, especially those carried by Northern Europeans and Indo-Europeans, began mixing with darker eye alleles more common in Mediterranean populations. Hazel eyes, which require multiple genes and a balanced amount of melanin, flourished in this environment of genetic complexity. Hazel eyes became especially common in families with mixed ancestry. from a Roman father and Syrian mother or a North African merchant and Italic woman. In these combinations, hazel eyes weren't unusual. They were a natural reflection of empire. Even after the fall of Rome, the genetic legacy of this mixing remained. In southern and central Italy especially, hazel eyes endured as a quiet but lasting visual reminder of the empire's vast reach. Thus, after the fall of Rome, Italy entered a new era, one marked by invasions, kingdoms and migrations. Far from isolating the population, the medieval period added even more diversity to Italy's gene pool, especially in the south. In Sicily and southern Italy, Arab Berber forces known as the Moors arrived in the 9th century, bringing with them cultural brilliance and North African and Middle Eastern DNA. These populations, already genetically mixed themselves, contributed darker pigmentation traits, but when blended with pre-existing Roman and Byzantine genes, they helped reinforce polygenic combinations that could lead to hazel eyes. Meanwhile, the Normans, originally Vikings who settled in France, invaded southern Italy and Sicily in the 11th century. Their northern European ancestry added more genetic material linked to green, blue, and intermediate eye colors. As Norman rulers intermarried with local Sicilians, new pigmentation mixes became more common. In the north, waves of Germanic tribes like the Lombards and Franks settled in what is now Milan, Venice, and Turin. Their arrival introduced lighter eye color alleles to regions already shaped by Celtic, Roman, and Alpine peoples. Add to that the continuous flow of Greek, Jewish, and Slavic migrants throughout the medieval period, and you get a genetic landscape that is anything but uniform. Hazel eyes flourished in this web of ancestry. They weren't dominant, but they were steady, passed through families across centuries, especially in regions where diverse influences never stopped meeting. Today, hazel eyes are more common in Italy than many realize, especially when you move beyond the stereotype of uniformly brown-eyed Mediterraneans. In fact, studies suggest that between 15 and 20% of Italians may have hazel eyes, depending on the region. That makes hazel the second most common eye color in the country after brown. In central and southern Italy, hazel eyes are especially frequent. Regions like Lazio, Campania, Calabria, and Sicily are genetic crossroads. Historically influenced by Greeks, Arabs, Normans, and Romans, this blended ancestry creates the perfect balance of pigmentation genes that give rise to hazel eyes. Even in northern Italy, where blue and green eyes are more common due to stronger Central and Northern European influences, hazel eyes appear often, particularly in urban populations with more diverse family trees. Hazel eyes are also more noticeable in rural mountain regions, like Abruzzo or Basilicata, where isolated communities preserved unique genetic traits across centuries. In some families, hazel eyes skip generations, only to reappear unexpectedly in grandchildren. Today, with modern DNA testing, more Italians are discovering ancestral roots from North Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, or Spain, and hazel eyes often reflect that quiet mix of lineages. In short, hazel eyes aren't rare in Italy. They're regional, ancestral, and deeply woven into the fabric of Italian identity. In Italian culture, eyes have always been more than a feature. They're a language of their own. From opera to cinema, eyes express drama, love, betrayal, and mystery. And among all the eye colors, hazel has often carried a special mystique. In Italian literature and poetry, hazel eyes are often described as nocciola, like hazelnuts, symbolizing warmth, richness, and natural beauty. Unlike the icy distance of blue or the fire of black, hazel is seen as earthy and emotional, capable of subtle expression. It's a color that doesn't shout, it draws you in. In classic Italian cinema, actors with hazel eyes often stood out for their emotional depth and Mediterranean allure. Whether it's Sophia Loren's golden green stare or the nuanced expressions of actors in neorealist films, hazel eyes helped shape the look of Italian identity on screen. In modern Italy, hazel eyes are often celebrated in fashion and beauty, not as exotic, but as authentically Italian. The combination of olive skin, dark hair, and shimmering hazel eyes has become an iconic image of Southern European beauty, especially in regions where ancient ancestry runs deep. Culturally, hazel eyes represent something complex and blended, just like Italy itself. They're seen as a sign of history, passion, and depth, reflecting a country that has always lived at the intersection of empires, ideas, and people. In a nation proud of its diversity and history, hazel eyes aren't just common. They're symbolic, a quiet reminder of all the cultures that made Italy what it is today. If you enjoyed this journey into Italian DNA and the evolution of hazel eyes, please like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Hazel eyes in Italy aren't just a beautiful feature, they're a living link to thousands of years of history. From Neolithic farmers and Roman citizens to Arab traders and Norman knights, each left a trace. Hazel eyes carry those traces in every fleck of green and gold. If you or someone in your family has hazel eyes and Italian roots, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how your ancestry shines through your eyes.